This is a Fonzie Studio podcast. Welcome to Tales from the First Nations. I'm Jay Idle, and every week I'll share with you a tale and ancient wisdom of the native tribes of North America. I'll be joined by my cats, Dawa and Fonzie, who will undoubtedly make their presence known at some point, so I might as well just list them as co-host. We hope you'll enjoy the tales and wisdom, raise your vibration, and enrich your life with us every week. Welcome, friends. Welcome to the 68th episode of Tales from the First Nations. I'm your host, Jay Idle. The year is flying by, right? Last week we reached summer, and now I'm pushing us on into autumn. At this rate, we're only 7 days away from winter, and a few keyboard strokes away from a bunch of hate mail. Well, we've looked at spring and summer, so let's learn about the importance of autumn for our Native American ancestors. Last year, we looked at a story about how a bear hunt led to the changing colors of the leaves in fall. You can find that story in episode 13. I considered re-recording it, but I have two others to share, so I'm going to just move on with them instead. Now, autumn was, for our Native American ancestors, as it is for us now, a time of gratitude for the harvest, for the earth, providing us with all that we need to tide us over through the winter. Whether in the form of crops, wild game, or family, autumn is a time for gratitude. So, in our first story today, we learn about the origins of the term Indian summer. This is, of course, the magic time of autumn, when we get a brief flashback to summer weather, before marching towards the end of fall and beginning winter. We can give credit for the Indian summer to Not-Kee-Kad. Here is an Abenaki legend called Indian Summer, as told by Joseph Brock. Not long ago, there was a man who was known as Not-Kee-Kad. The man was a good husband and father who worked hard for his family. He planted a great deal every year and cared for his garden so that there would always be plenty of food. He was always grateful to the Master of Life and gave thanks each harvest. One year, though, things did not go well for him. There was a late frost, and his garden was killed. He planted it again, but then there came a drought. Again he planted, but now it was autumn, and the cold weather came and killed the plants before they were ripe. Not-Kee-Kad was very troubled. His wife and children had gathered berries and other foods from the forest, but without the dried corn and squash and beans for them to keep over the long, cold time, he was afraid that they would not survive. Now the cold season was here, and the leaves were falling from the trees, and the freezing winds blew, so that there was really nothing he could do. That night before he slept, he made a small fire and offered tobacco to the Master of Life. "I've never asked for help," he said. "I've always been thankful for the blessings given to me. But now I'm in trouble. Not so much for myself as for my wife and children. I want to know what I can do." Then he went to bed and dreamed. In his dream, the Master came to him. "I am giving you these special seeds," the Master said. "I'm also giving you a time in which to plant them." Now, Not-Kee-Kad woke up in the morning and found the seeds were there beside him. He went outside, and though the leaves were still falling from the trees, the weather was now warm and pleasant, as if it were somehow summer. With the help of his wife and children, he prepared the soil and planted the seeds. The sun set and rose, and the seeds had already germinated and lifted green shoots out of the earth. The sun rose and set again, and now the young plants were already waist high. So it went from day to day, as the special seeds given to him grew rapidly in only a handful of days. Then Not-Kee-Kad harvested his crop and dried the corn and beans and squash for the winter. He and his family stored all the food within the wigwam. Then, as suddenly as it had gone away, the cold winds returned, and that special season given by the Master of Life was gone. To this day, the people say that special time is still given to us each year, even though we have none of the magic seeds. That time, which people call Indian summer today, was known as a man's summer by the Abenaki, it reminds them to always be thankful. I think that Nat Kikad was quite fortunate that the Master of Life offered him another opportunity to prepare crops for his family. I think it's great. It shows the greatness of the Creator when we are grateful. And we are grateful when an Indian summer blesses us each fall. I know I am. For our last story, we'll take another look at the reason for the coloring of leaves in the fall. And this story comes to us from Canada. Unfortunately, in some of the older published collections of folk tales, stories from different First Nation tribes got kind of mixed together without recording which specific community it came from, and as a result, I can't give you much about its origin except to tell you that it's a good story and it comes from Canada. This is Rainbow and the Autumn Leaves. In the olden days, long before the Indians came to Canada, all the animals talked and worked like men. Every year, after midsummer, they held a great council at which time they were all present. But it happened once in the summer, before the council met, that they all wanted to go to the sky and see what the country up there was like. None of them could find a way to go. The oldest and wisest creature of all the earth was Turtle. One day he prayed to the thunder god to take him to the sky, and his prayer was soon answered. There was a great noise, as if the earth had been split asunder, and when the people next looked for Turtle, he was nowhere to be found. They searched everywhere without success, but that evening, when they looked upward, they saw him in the sky, moving about like a black cloud. The turtle liked the sky so well that he decided to live up there always, and to send his descendants later to the earth. And the sky people agreed to keep him. They asked him, "Where do you want to dwell?" And he answered, "I should like to dwell in the black cloud, in which there are ponds and streams and lakes and springs of water, for I always dwelt near these places when I was young." So he was allowed to have his wish. But when the great council of animals met on earth in the time of the harvest moon, he was always present. He came in the black cloud, but he always went back to the sky after the council was ended, and the other animals envied him and his good fortune, and they wished that they could go with him. After a time, the animals were greatly distressed and angered by the rumor that a new race of creatures was coming from far over the ocean to inhabit their land. They talked it over very carefully, and they all thought how fortunate it would be if they could all go to the sky with Old Turtle and live like him, free from fear and trouble and care. But they were puzzled to know how to get there, for Turtle had never told any of them the way. One day, Deer, wandering out alone in the forest, as was his custom, came across Rainbow, who often built a path of many colors to the sky, and he said to Rainbow, "Carry me up to the sky, for I want to see Turtle." But Rainbow was afraid to do it, for he wished first to ask the thunder god for permission, and he put Deer off just to gain some time. He said, "Come to me in winter, when I stay for a time in the mountains near the lake, then I would gladly carry you to the place where the turtle dwells." Throughout the long winter months, Deer looked longingly for Rainbow, but Rainbow did not come. Life was growing harder on the earth, and the animals were in terror of the new race that was soon to come to their land, and Deer was very timid and impatient. At last, one day in the early summer, Rainbow came again, and Deer hastened to meet him. "Why were you false to me?" he asked. "I waited for you all winter long on the mountain by the lake, but you did not come as you promised. I want to go to the sky now, for I must see Turtle." Rainbow answered, "I cannot take you now, but someday, when there is a fog over the lake, I shall come back to drive it away. Come to me then, and I shall take you to the sky and to the place where Turtle dwells. This time I will not deceive you." Rainbow consulted the thunder god and received permission to do as Deer wished. Soon afterwards, the fog one day rolled in a thick bank across the lake, and Deer hurried out to wait for Rainbow. Sure enough, Rainbow came down as he had promised, to drive the fog away. He threw his arc of many colors from the lake to the blue hills far away, and the fog at once disappeared from the place. And he said to Deer, who stood watching him, "Now I will keep my promise. Follow my multicolored path over the hills and the forests and streams, and do not be afraid, and you will soon reach Turtle's home in the sky." Deer did as he was told, and soon he reached the sky. Turtle was glad to see him, and Deer liked the country so well that he decided to stay forever, and he roamed over the sky everywhere, moving like the wind from place to place. When midsummer had passed and the harvest moon had come, and the great council again met together, Deer was absent for the first time in his life. The animals waited long for him to appear, for they needed his advice, but he did not come. They sent the birds out to find him. Black Hawk and Woodpecker and Blue Jay all sought him in the forest, but they could not find a trace of him. Then Wolf and Fox scoured the woods far and near, but they came back and reported that they could not find him either. At last Turtle arrived at the meeting of the Great Council, as was his custom, coming in his black cloud, in which there were ponds and lakes and streams and springs of water. And Bear said, "Deer is absent from the council meeting. Where is Deer? We cannot meet without him, for we need his advice." And Turtle replied, "Deer is in the sky. Have you not heard? Rainbow made a wonderful pathway for him of many varied colors, and by that he came to the sky. There he is now." And he pointed to a golden cloud scurrying across the sky overhead. Turtle advised that the animals should all go to the sky to live until they could be sure that the new race of creatures would bring them no harm. And he showed them the pathway that Rainbow had made, stretching from the earth in wonderful colors. The animals all agreed at the Great Council to take Turtle's advice, but they were all very angry at Deer for leaving them without warning, for they thought that all the animals should stay either together faithfully on earth or go all together to the sky. Bear showed the greatest anger and annoyance. Because of his great strength, he had no fear of the new race that was said to soon be coming, and he had always been inclined to look with scorn on Deer's timid and impatient ways. "Deer has forsaken us," he said. "He deserted us in the hour of our danger, and that is contrary to forest law and to our code of defense." And he thought to himself, "I shall punish him for this when the time comes." In the late autumn, the time agreed upon came for the animals to leave the earth, and Rainbow again made his bright path for them to go to the sky. Bear was the first to go up because he was the leader, and because he, with his great weight, wanted to test the strength of the bridge of burning colors over which they had to pass. When he had almost reached the sky, he met Deer on the path, waiting to welcome the animals to their new home. Bear said to him in anger, "Why did you leave us behind without warning for the land of the turtle? Why did you desert the Great Council? Why did you not wait until all could come together? You are a traitor to your comrades, and you have been false to our faith." The Deer answered, also in anger, "Who are you to doubt me or my faith? None but the wolf may ask me why I came or question my fidelity. I will kill you for your insolence." Deer had grown very proud since he had gone to live in the sky, and he was no longer timid as he had been on earth. His eyes flashed in his fury, and he arched his neck and lowered his antlered head and rushed madly at Bear to push him from the path. But Bear was not afraid, for he had often tested his strength with Deer upon the earth. His low, hoarse growls sounded all over the sky, and he prepared to fight. They came together with a shock, for every time they battled, until the bridge of burning colors trembled and the heavens shook from the force of the conflict. The animals waiting by the lake at the end of the path looked up and saw the battle above them. They feared the results, for they wanted neither Bear nor Deer to die, so they sent Wolf up to the sky to put a stop to the contest. When Wolf reached the combatants, Bear was bleeding freely, for Deer with his antlers had pierced his neck and side. Deer too was bleeding, where Bear's strong claws had torn a great wound in his hide. Wolf soon stopped the battle, and Bear and Deer went away to dress their wounds. Then the other animals went up to the sky, over Rainbow's flaming path, and they decided to live in the sky and to send their descendants back to Earth when the new race of creatures should come. And they can still sometimes be seen, like clouds hurrying across the sky in the shape that they had on Earth. But the blood of Bear and Deer dropped from them as they moved to the sky from the scene of their battle on the Rainbow Bridge. It fell freely upon the leaves of the trees beneath them and changed them into varied colors. And every year when autumn comes in the North Country, the leaves take on again the bright and wondrous colors given to them by the blood of bear and deer when they fought on the rainbow path ages and ages ago. And bear and deer have never since been friends, and their descendants no longer dwell together in peace as they did in the olden days. It is a pity that bear and deer couldn't talk about their differences and come to a peaceful solution. This led to the end of a friendship, and that is always a sad thing. It did, however, leave 2 beautiful fall leaves, and that's kind of nice. It's with respect and gratitude that I offer you my blessings, and I thank you for sharing my journey with me and sharing your time with me on this podcast. I wish you well and look forward to sharing another story with you next week. Go in peace, return in peace, and may you be well. If you enjoy the podcast, please like and review us in your podcast service so we might grow further, and also feel free to tell your friends. You can reach out to us too if there's a topic you'd like us to cover in the contact information in the episode link. You'll find our first story, Indian Summer by Joseph Brock, in Rethinking Columbus, a teaching anthology. I actually found it on an old Anglefire link posted by Spirit Song 24 years ago. Remember Anglefire? That takes me back. Rainbow and the Autumn Leaves comes from worldoftales.com and is credited to Canadian Folklore. For more great stories and legends, join me next week for another story here on Tales from the First Nations. I'm Jay Idle, and I will talk to you next time. The beautiful music you're listening to right now is provided by my dear friend Scott Brocklesby, and our podcast Image of the Moon was provided by Mark Lawton. We'll see you next time. All right, that's it. How'd we do, Dawa? Phones? Excellent. Then I'll share it.